parade is back on. The Blue Jackets have won a game, and they're never going to lose again. We're going to break down last night's shootout win against the Islanders on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get things started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day, even though it's like 5 p.m. Eastern, it's fine. I appreciate you guys coming to hang out. I also have to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Let's talk about last night's game, because the Blue Jackets won a game. And I was kind of tongue-in-cheek about it because I did, in fact, fall asleep before the third period began. I have been traveling basically on and off all weekend, and I'm exhausted, so I did not make it to the end of the game. And I guess I can't watch third periods ever again, because the Blue Jackets did, in fact, come back from that three. They came back from 2-0 down. They came back from 3-2 down. Win in the shootout. We'll talk about the goalie interference controversy because I'm sure everyone has really calm and measured opinions about it. But I want to talk about what was good. I want to talk about what was bad. I want to talk about the return of Monahan, the return of Erik Gudbranson, all of that good stuff. Let's talk about the good. Elvis Merzlikins was good. They needed him to be. He wasn't world-beatingly good. He had a .909 save percentage, allowed 3 goals on 33 shots, was excellent in the shootout, made some really, really great saves when he needed to be. I think that third goal that went in, again, we'll talk about goalie interference in a little bit more detail in a second here, but honestly, the first goal, kind of a weird one. Second goal, I would want him to have. Third goal, goal interference, doesn't count. Obviously, it does count, but, it... Again, we'll get into it. But, honestly, only one goal allowed by Elvis that I think probably he should have had. And I'll take that, honestly. After the Blue Jackets forgetting how to score basically for 2 weeks straight, Sean Monahan returns. The Blue Jackets remember how to score goals. The power play didn't create anything, but they only had one attempt on the power play. Penalty kill was good. This is also their first win at UBS Arena because they hadn't won since the Islanders moved there. Obviously, they've beaten the Islanders recently-ish, but they are, what was it? I think they're 1-5-1 against the Islanders in UBS Arena now, which, hey, a win's a win, right? Again, power play didn't do a lot. I don't remember when the power play was. It was early in the third period. Kind of a soft call, but Islanders kill it off. Would like to see, again, the power play be alive at some point. I thought maybe they'd get a goal tonight from it, trying to Monahan, but wasn't to be. All of their goals, actually, that's a lie. 2 of their goals scored at even strength. One of them scored shorthanded. Man, the Islanders' power play is just real bad, huh? I thought our power play was miserable, but the Islanders' power play is... Man, it kind of makes you realize that you've got it kind of good with the Blue Jackets power play. 0 for 3 on the power play for the Islanders, and they allowed that shorthanded goal to Boone Jenner, which I believe that's back-to-back games for goals for Boone Jenner. I believe, didn't he score in the Penguins game, or am I making that up? Yeah, back-to-back goals. Got 2 on the season. Now he's got 11 points in 14 games since coming back from injury, which, again, seems pretty good to me. He is 6 goals away from 200 in his career. The Blue Jackets have, I think, 11 games left in the season. I believe that was game 71. he could do it. He could do 200 before the end of the year. I believe in him. Again, Boone Jenner has been pretty good for this team since coming back. He's had some off games, and I think he's been really good playing the wing and not as good playing center. So the fact that he's back at wing is great. Again, another reason why Monahan coming back is great. Hopefully, Sillinger will be back sooner rather than later. But again, getting Monahan back is good, and not just because it means that Monahan is back on the ice, right? It reshuffles the entire team. It's bumped some guys back down to where they should be. I don't know what's going to happen with Yulikov. I probably wouldn't have taken him out of the lineup, but someone on Twitter made a point that Dean Evason seems to like having a top 6 and a bottom 6, whereas I feel like for some teams it's a little bit more nebulous. You have a top 6, a middle 6, a bottom 6, or even, you just kind of have 12 forwards. I know that Rob Brindamore's a real big one for saying, oh, well, we don't number our lines, but like you obviously have a top line and a bottom line, right? But it seems like Dean Evason likes to have a top 6 and a bottom 6, like a clear delineation between those two things. I think it'll get a little bit more convoluted again when Sillinger returns. It does feel like we're running a real top 6 versus bottom 6 at the minute, just because they don't really have any like Adam Fantilli is a top 6 center, right? Kent Johnson's a top 6 forward. Like, arguably, Boone Jenner is a middle 6 forward. I think when Cole Sillinger gets back, he will become a middle 6 forward. But, like, Justin Danforth, bottom 6. Matthew Olivier, bottom 6. Zach Aston-Reese, bottom 6. James Van Riemsdyk, I would argue, is middle 6, but he's playing on the 4th line at the minute. Although I liked that 4th line last night with Kuraly and Luke Cunnin. Luke Cunnin, I thought, was noticeable. Luke Cunnin was effective in a way that he hasn't necessarily been since they've acquired him. So I'll be interested to see again, can he keep that coming? Can he, figure out a way to become a little bit more this sounds mean, but useful on the ice. It seems like he's fitted in well in the room, which is good, but can he become more effective on the ice? But to go back to my point, having Monahan back is great. It allows Jenner to move back to the wing, which is where he is the most effective. I think it'll take some pressure off of Adam Fantilli, who, admittedly, Adam Fantilli has been excellent since Monahan went out with the injury. So what was it, like 30? It was just under 30 games, I think. 28, 29 games, something like that. Which, again, like, you want Adam Fantilli as your 1C, ideally, but playing him at 2C, and also I'm not as annoyed about him being in 2C at the minute as I was kind of when Monahan went out with the injury, is because he's got real line mates, right? Like, again, I don't love Jenner in the top 6, but he was good. Last night, he's been good for a handful of games. Again, now that he's returned to the wing, he's been very good. But Fantilli and Johnson being like basically glued together, I don't think is a bad thing. I think that their games really complement each other. There's a real difference between Adam Fantilli, second line center between Boone Jenner and Kent Johnson, and Adam Fantilli, second line center between James Van Riemsdyk and Kevin Labanc. And like not to throw shade at Kevin Labanc too much, because obviously the dude is injured and hasn't been able to get into any games basically for the past 2 months, but that's a real different caliber of line mate, and it does feel much more like it's 1A, 1B than the 1 and 2 that it technically is, right? So again, Monahan back. Takes a little bit of pressure off of Fantilli. We'll get him probably slightly less tough matchups. Although something that was interesting to me about the Florida game, and I don't know if I got a chance to talk about this, was they hard matched Justin Danforth's line against the Barkov line. And again, that freed Fantilli up to be a little bit more creative, I guess. Now, obviously, they ended up losing that game anyway, but we see that happen. We saw that happen with Sillinger a lot last season. Is Sillinger got the tough matchups? You know, he got the McDavid matchup, the McKinnon matchup, the Barzal matchup. Last night, I believe they matched the Justin Danforth line to the I want to say not the top line necessarily, but they matched Justin Danforth against one of their top two lines, which again, Monahan took the tough lineup, the tough matchup, the Horvat matchup. Fantilli got a little bit of a friendlier matchup, which again I think is a good thing about having Monahan back, and also is going to be just a good thing for Adam Fantilli in general, because is he capable of doing the tough matchups? Sure. Getting him a chance to learn, and I think this is why we saw so much like explosiveness when he did get bumped up to that line between Voronkov and Marchenko, is he got the chance to learn how to play center in a sheltered role, and it prepared him for the tough matchups, right? Going back to that sheltered role, I think, is not necessarily a bad thing. We know what he can do now, right? If they need to call him up, if things aren't working, they need to shuffle things around. Like, you can throw Adam Fantilli in the deep end, and we know that he'll swim, right? So the win was good. Lots of guys in it were good. Monahan, I thought, was excellent. So I want to talk about kind of Monahan by himself, as opposed to like what Monahan being back means for Boone Jenner or Adam Fantilli or anything like that. I want to talk about what Monahan being back means for Sean Monahan, and also just like the team performance as a whole, because Monahan, 2 points in his return, and again was a very, very welcome presence to basically everyone, I think. So let's talk about Sean Monahan in just a second here at Locked On Blue Jackets. First, we've got to go ahead and talk about FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That is $200 extra to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the net. Got my eye on a few underdogs this year. The Illini, both men and women, got knocked out, so I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board, figure out who I want to put my money on now. But FanDuel makes it super easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. Tournament games are happening almost every day, so there's always something exciting to bet on, and the app's really easy to use. When I win, I get paid instantly, which I love. I don't have to wait around. It's the best way to enjoy college hoops. Visit FanDuel.com, get in on the college basketball action all tournament long. I also have to tell you about Wonderful Pistachios. You're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. They're one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, which gives you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller for longer. I love that they have a no shells variety. It is the perfect grab and go snack for a gremlin like me. It means I can eat them, 14 at a time. If you are the kind of person that loves cracking open every shell, gets that satisfying fidget, the in-shell options are a classic favorite, but it's no shells all day long for me. Get snacking, get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Let's talk about Sean Monahan, who has been, like I said, I thought it was great in his return. Took up a minute to get into it. I don't think his face-offs were as dominant as we wanted them to be, kind of in the first period, that is. Again, I said that I liked a lot of people's games in general. The first period was god awful. It took them a minute to get back into it. Sean Monahan at 45% with face-offs. That's expected. He's coming back off of a wrist injury. And the Islanders are the best face-off team in the league. They just are. It is what it is. It was always going to be a tough ask. First game back, he'll get better, right? That being said, apart from that, again, I liked his game a lot. He only played 1851, which I believe is a shade less than what he has normally been playing, which, again, I'm not mad about. I don't know that he killed quite as much penalty time as he would have done pre-injury. Again, not mad about it, but 2 assists, including, I believe, the opening goal for the Blue Jackets to start the comeback. No, excuse me. He assisted on Boone Jenner's shorthanded goal, which, again, was great. Loved it. Love a shorthanded goal. I believe that's the 9th shorthanded goal the Blue Jackets have scored this season, and I believe all 9 of them have come from a different player, which is just a fun fact. He assisted on that to tie the game. He then assisted on the Marchenko goal to once again tie the game late in the third period. Did not get a chance to go in the shootout, and I don't know that he would have done anyway. I think it probably would have been Marchenko as the third shooter if they needed to. But it was classic Monahan for this season, right? He's just good. He's not flashy. He's not like make you get out of your seat exciting. He's just good and competent and kind of, I feel chill when he's on the ice in a way that I didn't necessarily feel chill when Adam Fantilli was on the ice. And that's not that Adam Fantilli stresses me out, but I feel like something exciting could happen with Fantilli on the ice, right? I'm always like, oh, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? When Sean Monahan's on the ice, I'm like, yeah, good things are probably going to happen. It's fine. Nothing bad is going to happen. I think that's the difference, right? Is that with Adam Fantilli, I'm like excited about good things happening. But with Sean Monahan, I'm not worried about bad things happening. That's not to say that I'm worried about bad things happening when Adam Fantilli is on the ice, but it's just there's a very different vibe when he's on the ice. And it's one that I quite like. I like to feel chill. You know, this team is sometimes stressful. I think I tweeted about this after the 2-0 goal last night. I was like, this team is giving me gray hairs. And that's just true. This team is giving, like, I'm getting gray hairs. I'm of that age. It's fine. I do think this team is hurrying that along, let's say. But no one Sean Monahan is on the ice. And hopefully his return is good for many, many reasons. Hopefully he continues this good stretch that he's on. I think he will end up playing, what is it, 55 games? No, 53 games I think he'll top out at. If you can get, again, like 50 to 55 points with Monahan, which is, I think he's on pace for 54 points in 53 games right now, which is brilliant. I love that. I don't, off the top of my head, remember what he had last season. But it was a big improvement because last season he was healthy for the first time in approximately a billion years. You know, he did the old 83 game season. He had 59 points last season in the 83 games that he played between the Canadiens and the Jets. This season, he's on pace for 55 points in 54 games. So about the same amount of points, give or take, but in, 30 less games, give or take. This contract looks good. Do I think this contract is going to still look this good by the end of it when he's, coming in at, 34, 35 by the end of the contract? Probably not. But right now, this contract just looks so good, so fun. The cap is going up, so, like, great. Everything's good. Everything's fine. I didn't realize how much I missed Sean Monahan until he came back, and I was like, oh, that's what this team needs, right? And hopefully he just continues to be the guy that he's been all season when he's been healthy, right? He's been a leader. He's shown this team a thing or two, right? I think we could thank Marchenko's kind of blossoming season to him. I think he laid a lot of the groundwork. I think he's done a lot for Fantilli, for Sillinger. I think he really brought Voronkov out of his shell. And, obviously, again, Voronkov kind of came into his own after Monahan came out of the lineup, I believe. But that's a 20-goal scorer right there, I don't know that Sean Monahan will hit 20 goals on the season. He's at 14 right now. Again, they've got 12 games left, I guess. 11 games, 12 games, something like that. I think it's 11 games. So, 6 goals in 11 games is not unheard of. Be really fun. Give the Blue Jackets a 6th 20-goal scorer on the year. Mathieu Olivier is right there as well. He's got 16 goals on the season. There's a world where the Blue Jackets finish with 7 or 8 20-goal scorers, which feels wild to me. But I would love for Monahan to be one of them. If he's not, he's going to keep doing the assist thing. Again, he's got 29 assists in 42 games, on pace to finish with 37 assists, which would be the highest. He's on pace to finish with 55 points and 37 assists. Both of those would be the highest that he would finish in since the 2018-2019 season, when he had 82 points in 78 games and 34 goals. Finishing with 18 goals would give him the highest total since the 2019-2020 season, when he finished with 48 points in 70 games and 22 goals. But this is a healthy Monahan. This is a Monahan that is having fun. This is a Monahan that, again, okay, maybe fully healthy is not the right word, because obviously he's just missed 30 games, but like, a bad wrist is very different to the bad hip that he had, which I believe was what his issue was for, 2 or 3 seasons there. If they can get the Monahan back that they had at the beginning of this season, like, this team looks so, so different. And maybe they can claw their way back into that playoff position. They are, I believe, 2 points out of it right now, maybe 3 points out of it. I'll pull up the standings real quick, and then we'll talk about goalie interference very briefly. The Blue Jackets are 2 points out right now. Montreal Canadiens have that second wildcard spot with 75 points. The Islanders and the Rangers are right behind them with 74 points each, and then it's the Blue Jackets behind them with 73. I believe the Canadiens play tonight. So Ottawa is playing tonight, which we'll have to keep an eye on. They're playing Buffalo. I'm not expecting any fireworks there. Philadelphia plays Toronto. Pittsburgh plays Tampa Bay. Montreal plays St. Louis. And the Rangers play the Kings. Oh, and Detroit plays Colorado as well. So the Blue Jackets are going to need to get a little bit lucky in the scoreboard, but it's very, very doable. Again, Blue Jackets play Vancouver on Friday, I believe it is. Thursday or Friday, they play Vancouver, and then the day after that, they play, I think, Ottawa. So again, big matchups there. Vancouver is going to be without Elias Pettersson, which is very helpful for us. So we'll see how it goes. Could be, again, Blue Jackets need to have a big weekend, and then we'll reevaluate what the playoff race looks like after, hopefully, wins against Vancouver and wins against Ottawa. Let's go on a quick break, and then I want to talk about goalie interference, because I have some thoughts. They might be controversial, they might not be, I'm not sure, but we'll talk about them in just a second here at Locked On Blue Jackets. First, let's talk about Game Time. There's nothing like watching live basketball, the energy of the crowd, the sound of sneakers on the hardwood, maybe even a celebrity sighting courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time is making tickets easier than ever to get. Their new feature, Game Time Picks, fills out the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. I get a lot of Sharks tickets on Game Time, and there are a lot of Sharks tickets to look at on Game Time because the team is real bad. You know this. Game Time Picks shows me the deals that I want, the seats that I like, and I don't have to waste time scrolling through literally thousands of empty seats for the Sharks Arena in San Jose. They've got seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and a lowest price guarantee, which means that you can book with total confidence, and they have the best customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL. Once again, that's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Let's very briefly talk a little bit about goalie interference, because I completely understand the frustration that a lot of people are seeing with what's happening. Blue Jackets fans livid that the first call was allowed to stand. Islanders fans livid that the second call was also allowed to stand. And I think the thing is that it's so rare that goalie interference gets overturned. I feel like whether they call it a goal on the ice or or not a goal on the ice, it feels so rare that the Situation Room in Toronto is going to overturn what the refs say. Which Patrick Roy after the game said, if Toronto's not gonna, if Toronto's scared to tell the refs that they're wrong, why do we have Toronto? And I don't necessarily think it's that they're scared to tell the refs that they're wrong. I think it's very much a case of not wanting to rock the boat. The NHL is so precious about their referees, right? You're not allowed to say that the referees are bad at their jobs or that the referees missed a call or that you disagree with the referees, etc., etc. I suspect that, and I've been offline a lot of today because I've been traveling. I wouldn't be surprised to see Patrick Roy get fined for that comment. Do I think it's a fine-worthy comment? Not really, but, the NHL loves to tell people that they can't talk smack about the referees, which I think is the big problem here, right? Is the referees are kind of seen as infallible, and that's simply not the case. In terms of the goalie interference calls specifically in this game, I personally do not think that second call was goalie interference. Was it Kyle Palmieri? I don't think that was interference necessarily. I think Elvis had enough time to reset before the puck went past him. However, I do think that the first call, the one that was called a good goal on the ice and then confirmed to be a good goal, I think that was goalie interference. I think Eric Branson was in there kind of causing trouble, but you watch, was it Kyle Palmieri again? Was it him in both? Or was it Anders? No, it was Anders Lee, I believe. Skate directly through, knocking Elvis's glove, knocking him like he didn't have a chance to reset. And I think that would have happened with or without Eric Branson there. So to me, that first call should have been overturned. Quite frankly, the second call should also have been overturned. So, again, call it a wash, right? I get that Islanders fans are frustrated that they got a regulation win taken away from them. I don't think it's that. I've talked about this on the show before. I think again the Blue Jackets on the good end of some controversy about something being called either being called a goal or not a goal. The Justin Danforth high stick in the outdoor game. The NHL is not rigging games. They do not have it out for one team specifically, right? Do individual referees have bias against individual teams? Maybe. But to say that the NHL is out here, rigging games or something like that implies a level of competence that I don't think NHL officials have, is the thing. I believe it was Wes McCauley was refereeing the game last night. Wes McCauley, I think, is probably near the end of his career. I don't love his officiating, but I can't think of an official in the game that I do enjoy. So, maybe that's a me problem. The NHL refs are not out to get your team. The NHL refs are not rigging this for Columbus because they think it's a good story. They're not calling things against the Islanders because the NHL doesn't want the Islanders in the playoffs. That's simply not what's happening. I get being frustrated by all of these calls, and yes, sometimes it does feel like the calls always go the other way, because that's just kind of a little bit confirmation bias. I'm not going to lie, right? It is what it is. It sucks. I understand Islanders fans being annoyed about that second call not being overturned, but I hope that Islanders fans can understand Blue Jackets fans being annoyed that first call wasn't overturned. So again, both teams got a call that they shouldn't have, comes out in the wash. The result stands. The refs did not hand the Blue Jackets this game. Sucks for the Islanders, but I don't think it evens out. I don't think it was a makeup call being not turning over the no-goal call on the ice. I also don't know that I would have called it a no-goal on the ice. But that's just how these calls go, right? It's so difficult to overturn. Whether something is or isn't goalie interference, it seems like they just don't like overturning the call on the ice, right? I feel like with offside, it's different. I feel like you're more likely, I think because offside is more kind of black and white, right? Goalie interference, whether they need to rewrite the rule book, whether they need to do something about what that actually means as a penalty, like whatever, it feels like goalie interference means something different to every single official, to every single off-ice official, every single on-ice official, like every single player, coach, goalie, whatever. They need to fix that, right? Like that's not the Blue Jackets' fault that the league doesn't seem to know what goalie interference is. It's not the Islanders' fault that the league doesn't seem to know what goalie interference is. It's frustrating, sure. These calls are going to go the other way. Like the Blue Jackets are probably going to get shafted by a call sooner rather than later. You know, the Islanders will get the bounce to go their way. What goes up must come down, right? Frustrating at the time, but I'm not gonna not be happy about the win, right? But in a million years since the Blue Jackets won a game, and frankly, I think they probably deserved to win the game. I think they were the better team for large chunks of this game, and especially in the third period where the Islanders just kind of decided to hold on to their 3-2 lead with everything that they have, and it just wasn't quite enough. But goalie interference is stupid. I generally go with, if you think it's interference, then it probably isn't, and if you think it's not interference, then it probably is how I look at it. Which is maybe a stupid way of looking at it, but tends to be right. So it is what it is. That's kind of what I've got for today. Tomorrow I've got kind of let's call it a grab bag. I want to talk about Luca Pinelli getting assigned to the Cleveland Monsters. I have got Mike Davis of Northeastern Hockey Blog, I believe it's called. I should look this up before. Of Northeastern Hockey Blog to come and talk about Jack Williams, who the Blue Jackets just signed earlier today. Spoiler alert, Mike is very, very excited about this because Jack Williams is a really good and fun player. So we're going to get some insight on him. We'll talk about Luca Pinelli. We'll talk about if the Blue Jackets make any other moves before I record tomorrow morning. All of that and more on tomorrow's episode. Thank you for listening to today's episode, for making it your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. I've been your host, Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at you can find me at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets. Thank you once again for listening. Until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.